Hi there. Welcome back to another quick and easy watercolor painting. Um, I'm using a 140-pound piece of watercolor paper taped onto my board. I have a 3/4 inch flat brush here, and I'm wetting the page from top to bottom, but I'm making sure it's fairly evenly wet. And then I'm going to pick up some Payne's Gray, and I'm going to just paint in a sky just like that. I'm not going to do anything more than that. Just let that all bleed together, and whatever it becomes is what it becomes. I'm going to continue using this big flat brush because I want to keep this sort of loose, quick, fast. If you use a small brush, you sort of start to get in there and do a little bit of making it too pretty. You can see I'm tapping the brush onto the page here, and I'm just making a tree line that's sort of going downhill from right down to the left. And you can see all the little trees that are sort of starting to bloom out of that. I'm going to pick up a little bit more pigment, and I'm just going to put in a few more indications of maybe where a tree is. I'm going to let this sort of start to bleed together. I'm going to put a line going from the left across to the right, and we're just going to let that start to bleed together, and maybe make some sort of gestural marks, just quick little gestural marks, not we're not trying to guide the paint too much. Think of it as an experiment, right? So I'm experimenting with this paint. I'm experimenting with this piece of paper. I'm experimenting with this art form. And if you think of that, it's, if it doesn't turn out, at least you learned something from it. All right, I'm gonna set that big brush down. I have like I said, I have a number 4 round watercolor brush here. And I'm just gonna tap this into some of these wet areas here. And I'm gonna try to make it look like we're pushing that tree line further back by installing another tree line further in front of it, okay? We're gonna go downhill, and then I kind of got it going back up here a little bit. But again, I'm not doing any brush strokes, okay? So this is all just tapping the brush onto the page. If you want to make some flat areas, you can do some brush strokes like that. And then just, walk away from it. You can't keep touching it. Most watercolor paintings will turn out better if you touch it less. Okay, so we got that all bleeding pretty good. I'm going to pick up some yellow ochre, okay? I'm just going to drop some yellow ochre into a few places. I think I want this to be a field here, so I'm going to sort of put some yellow ochre across like that. And maybe a few places like this. You can see where that yellow ochre is bleeding into that Payne's Gray, or vice versa. I'm going to drop a little bit more yellow ochre into a few places here, and then that's it. We're just going to walk away. All right, so the name of the game here today is just walk away. Don't keep touching it. Your chances of making it into a mess are high at this point. I'm going to take my number 1 watercolor brush that I have my little tip sharpened on. I'm just going to make some quick little gestural marks in here to allude to where maybe some trees are or some other foliage. I'm not going to do much of this, just a little bit here in the foreground. And then we're just going to let that all dry and see what that becomes. All right, so don't touch it anymore. Just walk away now. All right, so that turned out pretty well. I mean, you have all this little, this hill looks like it's coming down here. You have all this little ghosty stuff going on here. The scribed lines here worked really well across here. I'll try to zoom in on some of those. But I think we can do a little bit more to this painting. I think I'm going to put a tree in here that's sort of going to go all the way off the page. And I'm going to use my number 1 watercolor brush. So this would be wet paint on a dry page, okay? So we're just going to make this very thin. We're going to keep our brush moving, just using just the tip of it, and just pull off some lines, just like that. And then when you get up here like this, just take the sharpened tip of your brush and use it to get yourself some finer and finer lines. Again, just going up along the tree trunk. You know, you can drop some more Payne's Gray into this already wet line, and just drawing yourself up along here, keeping the lines nice and light. And when you make a little puddle like that, take the tip, the sharpened tip, or a finer brush, whatever it might be that you have. You'll find this will dry up really quickly, so you have to work fairly fast, okay? Just get yourself some little branches coming off like that. Okay, now the other thing you can do is just dip that tip, that sharpened tip, right into the paint. You won't be able to draw, you won't be able to draw a very long line or paint a very long line, I guess, but you will be able to make it very sharp and pointy like that. This here isn't quite thick enough. All right, that's turning out not too bad. I think I'm going to put another one in right beside this, make this one a little bit darker maybe. Put another one in right here, just make this one a little bit shorter. Again, just dipping my sharpened brush end into the paint, getting myself some very thin little branches. And then if you want to make the trunk darker, of course, you're just going to, you can use the, go back to the brush end, put some more paint in that line. I'm going to go back here and get some more thinner just like that. I think one of the things that I like to think about is the painting sort of turning out in the direction that I had in my mind, and this one is, turning out in the direction that I had in my mind. I got a little water drop there. I'll just clean that off. So that'll dry out pretty quickly. Let's put this on. Yeah, that's not too bad, right? Like that looks sort of exactly like what it was I had going on in my head. If there's anything going on in my head. Anyways, I really appreciate you watching. If you're currently a subscriber, thanks a lot. And if you're not currently a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. I hope you have an awesome day painting, and we'll see you again next time. I'd love to know where you're from. Please leave me a comment in the comment section. Thanks. See you again next time.